guys. Hello. Good evening to everyone. Good evening. I think I'm going to move you all over here. That way I can start into one camera. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everyone has had a blessed Thursday. I won't be before you long. Going to get right to it. Good evening. And if you guys don't know me, I'm Abalori. I'm a nurse, but I also study scripture and just kind of harnessing on my faith in the last year of just trials, tragedies, tribulations, whatever you want to call it. I have, just taken the year and just kind of harnessed in on my faith. And I just wanted to come in really quick to give you guys a quick word and just hopefully I could be a light to someone who is having a hard time in this world. But good evening again to everybody. Tonight we will be studying from the book of Matthew, verses 26 through 27, and more specifically, hey, Dr. Loveth, how are you? Long time no see. Hopefully you're doing well. So we are going to be coming from the book of Matthew, more specifically chapters 26, 27. And in this particular passage tonight, we're just going to be talking about Jesus and obeying him. And even when we are in the midst of our storms and trials, how it is important to obey God, even when we feel like we don't want to obey him. So again, we're in the book of Matthew, chapter 8, verses 26 to 27. And basically, to sum it up, it is Jesus displays authority over the creation. So if you guys don't know the story, or most people know the story of Jesus and his disciples were in the boat. The boat started getting water in it, the winds, the rain, the storm. The boat was just basically feeling like it was going to capsize over. And Jesus was asleep while his disciples were in the boat, fearful that they were going to drown. They asked themselves, or they said to themselves, he's over there asleep and he doesn't care if we perish or not. So then they decided to go over and wake him up. And one of the things they said was, Master, wake up. Do you not care that we are perishing? With the water's coming in, we're about to drown, and you're over there asleep in La La Land. And so basically they were fearful that they were going to lose their life. And so when Jesus awoke, the first thing he did was he calmed the storm. And then he asked them, basically, where is your faith? Now, one of the things that when I've studied this particular scripture, this particular chapter, one of the most fascinating things that I thought to myself was, his disciples had spent all this time amongst him. They saw him do miracle after miracle, bless people, heal the sick, heal the blind, the lame. He stopped the woman who had the issue with the blood. He just did all these miraculous things, and they were in his presence seeing all of these things. And even with them seeing all of the miracles that he did, they still became fearful of this storm. So when you sit and you think about it, I guess in hindsight 2020, they probably were thinking he's not going to, they weren't thinking that this man that we spent our lives with, we're studying under him, we're seeing him bless these people, he's doing miracle after miracle, and they still thought that they were in jeopardy of drowning and losing their life. So once Jesus decided to calm the storms, calm the winds, and he said to them, "O ye of little faith," basically asking them, where is your faith? You have seen me do all this miraculous work and you're still doubting me. And so how I bring that into fruition in my life is there have been a lot of tough, challenging times that I have had in the last year. And time after time again, I pray, I read scripture, I take it to God, I harness it on my faith. And I still at times have a hard time believing that when something arises, when there's an issue, I still find it hard to believe that God is going to see me through, that Jesus is going to see me through. And yet he shows me time and time again, over and over and over again, that I have made a way for you. You have been down and out, and I still brought you back to life. You have been down and out. You have been in despair at one point in your life, and I still raised you up. I have done this over and over and over again, and you're still questioning me. You're still doubting me. You are not obeying the words that I say. The words are, have faith, put your trust in me, and still I still have to prove to you that I am going to see you through, that I am going to get you through. And so as I sit back and I really, really think about this particular story in the Bible, we physically do not have Jesus here, meaning he's not sitting next to us. We can't touch him. We can't hug him. We can't physically look at him, but he's here. The disciples had him right there with them, right in their presence, and they still did not have faith. They still doubted him, and they were in his presence. They were able to touch him, see him, feel him, look at him, talk to him, ask questions, study under him, and they still doubted him in the midst of the storm. So it pains me to believe that if they can doubt him and he was physically right there, we too can doubt him and we can't see him. And I believe I don't want to say that it's harder for us or harder for them, but I would tend to think that it's a little bit harder for us because we actually cannot see him in the presence, but yet it's still, we see what he is doing. We see time and time again that he makes a way for us if our bills is late. He makes a way for us when the rent has to be paid and we don't know how we're going to pay it. He makes a way for us when, we have to buy food, when the car goes up, when the kids need something, and we have to figure out, how are we going to get through this? How are we going to get through this particular storm that's happening right now? And he shows us time and time again, I might not be physically with you. You might can't physically see me, but I have proven to you time and time again that when you thought you were down and out, I picked you back up. I picked you back up and helped you through the most difficult times, and yet you're still doubting me. So when it comes to just thinking about this particular passage, they had Jesus right there in the helm with them. He was in the boat with them. They could physically touch him. They saw him. And the difference between us and them is that they had him right there physically seeing, whereas though we have to feel him in our presence. We have to imagine that he is taking care of everything. We have to put forth that conscious effort to say, even though I cannot physically see you, I am in the midst of your presence and you are going to help me through this particular thing that I am going through. So even though for some of us, we technically we can't hear him, but a lot of times if you listen close enough, he sends you signs. If you pay attention long enough, he'll show you a sign. There may be something that you see, something that you hear, something that happens that reminds you that he is still in control, and that the only thing that he asks from us is to obey him. Obey him. He has told us time and time again, have faith in me. I will never let you down. All you have to do is call my name. I will answer. Give me your problems and I will handle them. And yet it's still, we tend to not want to believe that he can handle these things. And so what I want to say tonight is, in this particular passage, we know that the winds obeyed him. And once the winds calmed, he asked his disciples, "O ye of little faith, where is your faith?" And then he says to them, your faith, he rebukes the winds, the rains, all of those good things. And then they were marveled that they said, who can this be? who is this man that has allowed the winds and the storms to obey him? So again, when you think about us having to obey God, it's hard for us to obey something that we physically cannot see. We have to imagine, we have to feel, we have to put forth that conscious effort to know that taking our issues to God, taking our troubles to God, taking our sorrows to God, we have to trust and have faith and believe that he is going to see us through. And again, in studying this particular scripture, they had Jesus right there in the boat. He was in the boat with them. They could physically see him, touch him, talk to him, hug him, kiss him. They saw him getting anointed, and yet and still they did not have any faith when they were in that boat. So I can only imagine how hard it was for them. And sometimes I tend to think, well, we have it just a little bit harder because he's not with us physically, but he's here with us spiritually. So I thought that was just something that I picked up in doing my scriptures and doing my Bible reading at night, is just thinking about how they had him there and how sometimes we wish we had him right here to answer our questions. We wish that we could turn to the left or turn to the right and just ask him the question, like, are you going to fix this? And I was telling somebody in one of my friend groups, the way that I put it, the story to them, they were kind of laughing because they was like, you put a little funny spin on it. And I was like, yeah, because they were in the boat. And they were like, Jesus, like, you over there chilling, you lunching, you're just asleep, and we're about to perish. And so it's almost, again, liken it to something that's going on in your world, and then your friends will say, you over there, you ain't paying me no attention. This ain't, you think it's serious, it's the end of the world, and your friend is asleep at the wheel. They're like, yeah, whatever, it's gonna pass through. And so it just kind of reminds me that, we don't put enough faith in him. We don't put enough, we don't get into the word deep enough to understand that he only requires us to have a mustard seed of faith. And if you guys know how big a mustard seed is, that is all the faith that he is requiring us to have. And so I just kind of wanted to come in and give you that little bit of word for tonight, that even though Jesus isn't with us physically, God isn't with us physically, he is with us in spirit. He is with us in our imagination. He is with us in all he asks us to give him our problems, obey and trust that he is going to handle it, and he is going to see it through. So that is it, you guys. Again, I am coming from Matthew chapter 8. And today it was verse 26, 27. And it was basically saying that Jesus asked his disciples, they were fearful that they were going to capsize, the winds, the rain, all of that. And then he basically posed a question to them and asked them, where is your faith? So I'm going to ask you tonight, where is your faith? Do you have any faith? And is it kind of hard for you to harness in on your faith in times of trouble? So with that being said, just a few questions for you to think about, for you to answer. And I hope that this brings you some comfort and some peace. And I look forward to seeing you in the next live session where we're going to finish this thing up. And yeah, that's it. So you guys have a blessed Thursday, and I will see you guys tomorrow night we're almost done. This is a 4-day thing. So I'm going to actually stretch it out to Monday, I believe. But yeah, so with that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye.